A lot of people want to change their life instantly. That's great. A lot of people here, and it's very interesting also for you. I hope you can share your skills very well with us, and we take a lot from this. We have a lot of really cool upcoming events this week as well. Besides this event, we also have a saloon night. A lady's coming, and she was a child soldier, and she will tell us her story about that. And what else events are we gonna have, Kash?
There's a think tank tomorrow.
Think tank as well, yeah. I think,
night.
yeah, you can join that as well.
Thursday's a writer's workshop by Michael Burns.
We just have so much. It's a storytelling workshop, you guys. So if you want to know anything about storytelling, you should join that workshop as well.
What time is the think tank?
The think tank is on Thursday.
No, Wednesday.
Wednesday.
So it's a structured format in 1 hour where people can pitch on an idea, or they present the challenge or present the company idea. And they present for 10 minutes, then there's 10 minutes of questioning, and then about 30 to 40 minutes of feedback from the audience. So I've seen companies launch at the think tank. So yeah, it's a pretty cool format. And the one tomorrow is an interesting concept.
We need one more packet.
Yeah. And it's for everybody to be able to come up.
And on Friday, we have the best events of it all. We have social hour, and this Friday it's gonna be beer pong. So if you guys want to join us for that, you're very welcome, yeah? So just hit us up, and yeah, we have it on our Facebook, so you can check all our events there. Okay? Yeah, and now I leave the world to Chris.
Ooh, the world.
The word, or the world.
We need 3 more packets. Does anyone not have a packet?
I don't have a packet.
Okay, 1 packet.
3 more?
Give this one a...
You don't want to change your life?
I'm going to do it through osmosis.
Oh!
That's very kind of you. Thank you.
All right. Hello, everyone. So today we're going to change our lives instantly, which might sound crazy, but it's not that crazy, and you'll see. So we're going to do actually a lot of things in this hour. We're going to uncover your biggest obstacle in life, which is you, whether you know it or not. We're going to create a blueprint for becoming the best version of yourself. We are going to get real with the bullshit breakdown, which is really fun. We're going to learn how to take action in order to get exactly what you want from life. Understand your fears and doubts so you can overcome them. Stop the paralysis by analysis, which is the overthinking that we do. And also step into your greatness so you can make shit happen. And, of course, change your life instantly. And somehow we're going to do all of this in an hour, I think. So before we get started, I want to tell you guys a little bit about me. So this was me 3 years ago at like the height of my life. I had gotten to where I wanted to be. I was on stage. Has anyone ever heard of Techstars? So our company got into Techstars, which at the time was the #1 startup accelerator in the world. It was actually harder to get into than Harvard. So it was like, yeah, we got in. That was awesome. And I was standing on this stage at a sold-out Boulder theater looking at all these amazing people. There were 200 or 300 investors in the audience, and I was pitching the company that I started. It was my second company that I started, and I was up there, and it was like, wow, this is where I wanted to get to in life. This is like, I made it in my own mind. Like, this is what I wanted. I finally got there. I worked so hard, I sacrificed so much, and I'm finally where I want to be. Don't be sorry at all. And so it was like, I made it. So 3 months later, we ended up raising $500,000 from investors. We had 25 people working for us. I was the CEO of a really cool growing tech company. We were scheduled to raise another $1 million in 8 months. And I was dating the love of my life. I had the car, the paycheck, the title. It was everything that I thought I wanted. And I was completely miserable. I was empty inside, and I was totally lost because I had been chasing this carrot my whole life. I wanted to get to this exact point because I was told that it will make me happy. When I have the money and the status and the company and, you know, all these different things, that I'll finally be happy. And I was actually more happy when I didn't have any of it, because at least I had something to chase. And here it was like, okay, I got it. Nothing. I feel nothing inside. Now what? And so that moment when I realized that completely changed my life forever. So a year later, I gave away all of my stuff, and I bought a one-way ticket to Nepal, and I've been traveling for the past 10 months. So we don't realize, but our life is constantly changing. Everything that happens in our life causes change. The entire universe is constantly changing. We're part of the universe. The thing is, we're just not always aware that the change is happening, because every moment in your life, you're always one choice away from changing your life drastically. Because when I realized that this isn't what I want, it changed my entire future. I never wanted to go anywhere in Asia. I never wanted to go to India. My plan is to move to India. I've never been to India. I don't know anything about India, but something inside me said, go to India. And so I'm on my way to India, but I'm here first. But we're always one choice away from making a massive life change. And the fact that all of you are sitting right here, something here could massively change your life. One of you could have gone, to lunch and gotten food poisoning and been sick for 2 days and didn't get to pitch that client, and then you missed out on that big deal, so you had to move back to your country. You could have gone and crashed on your scooter. You could have gone and met the love of your life, but instead you're here. But everything that you do changes your life. You falling on your bike, it changed your life in some way. The thing is, we don't know how it's changing our life right now. It only makes sense when we look back. And we can all think of one decision we made or one small thing that happened in our lives that drastically changed our life forever. And so it's really important that we get present to one single choice can change your life forever. And this is a good quote by C.S. Lewis. It says, "Isn't it funny how day by day nothing changes, but when you look back, everything is different?" Because we just kind of go through life. And, I've been in Bali for a month and a half, and after about a week, it just felt like I'm just going with the day, like this is normal life. And the thing is, we get caught in that kind of autopilot mode, and that's what stops us from seeing all the change that happens, and it also stops us from realizing how much power we have to make change. And so we kind of walk around sleepwalking, and we don't realize it. But all of you have around 50,000 thoughts every single day. 80% of those thoughts that you have are the same thoughts you had yesterday, which is really messed up. And 70% of them are negative. And on top of that, 90% of the decisions that you make every day are actually made by your subconscious mind. They are not made by you. So where you sit, what you eat, what you wear, who you talk to, what video you watch on YouTube, most things are actually decided for us because we're on autopilot. And when you're on autopilot, you don't actually get to experience life fully. But that's why people, they go through life and life passes them by because they kind of are just going with it. And it's really hard to escape our minds because we constantly are thinking the same things over and over again. When I learned that 80% of what I think every day is the same thing I thought yesterday, it's kind of like, oh man, I'm in my own self-created prison. And so today, our goal is to break you out of that, at least for a little bit. But what's important to understand is actually your brain's priorities and why this happens. So the first priority of your brain is survival. So don't get eaten by the T-Rex. The thing is, our brain is billions of years in the making because the universe is 13 million years old and it took 13 million years to create all of us, which is cool. But the first instinct is to survive no matter what. And the good thing for us is that we live in a world now where we don't have to constantly survive. We're not always, facing death, but our mind doesn't know that. Our brain doesn't understand that. So when someone looks at you wrong, you go into fight or flight mode. It's survival. Why'd you look at me like that? What do you want? You don't like me? I don't like you either. Whatever. It's like you go off just like that because you're in survival mode, okay? But that's just your brain. That's not you. It's just the autopilot that you fall into. The second priority is to conserve energy. Your brain uses 20% of your resting energy every single day. So its job is to conserve energy as much as it can, which means automate things. So if it can create habits and you don't have to think how to brush every single tooth in your mouth and you can just do this and you don't have to think about it, if you don't have to think about what step to take to walk up the stairs, if you don't have to think about what to eat, if you don't have to think about a lot of these things, it actually conserves energy. Because if you had to think about everything that you do every day, you would have no energy for anything. You'd be paralyzed, okay? So it's trying to help you, but it actually ends up hurting you because you also automate things in your life. You automate the kind of people that you date. You automate the beliefs that you have about yourself or about the world or whatever it is, and you automate them, and they become so automatic that at some point you believe that you are your beliefs. And that's the trap, is when you believe that you're actually those beliefs that you created, okay? And then the third thing that it does is it reinforces the habits. Because if it can make a habit just a natural thing and it's in your subconscious mind and you do it, then it doesn't have to waste any more energy on making you do those things. Which is why we end up doing things and we don't even think about it a lot of the time. Does anyone do that? No? Yeah? Wrong group of people. So our job today is to shut off the autopilot for at least a few minutes and see how powerful you guys really are when you can step outside of that, okay? So what I want everyone to do is pick one thing in your life that you want to change. So it could be in finance, business, work, family, friends, love and romance, health, fitness, anything, okay? So one life change that you want to make. It could be massive or it can be small, okay? And then write it down on the first piece of paper. And you want to get specific. It's not, I want to be rich. It's how much money do you want to make. So for me, I'll do lifestyle. I want to start waking up early at 4 a.m. is when I want to start waking up. So that's the life change that I want to make today. So get specific with whatever it is.
Does anyone have another pen?
I do, actually. So what if I set to number?
Oh, write it on, sorry, I don't have a copy, on this page.
What was the question?
that
Sorry.
Pick one thing in your life that you want to change.
Oh, this page?
Yeah, the front. You can write it anywhere there. There's a lot of free space. You can draw it if you want. So one change. It can be big, small, but something that you are committed to changing.
Are we cheating if we do too?
No, you're overachieving if you do too, which is also part of the autopilot. And some of you right now, you might be going through, oh man, what should I pick? Okay, I want to do that. Oh no, that's not right. I shouldn't do that. No, that's a bad one. And it's like the autopilot's going again. You have to pick the right one. You have to do it right, or you have to pick the best one, or you have to pick a realistic one.
Does it have to be realistic?
It's realistic is your point of view. What is realistic to you might be unrealistic to me. It could be anything. Mine is starting to wake up at 4 a.m. in the morning because I want to have a morning routine. It depends on the day. When I left my company, I had freedom. I could do anything. I could wake up whenever I want. And yeah, we won't go there. There's a reason why it's 4 a.m. Okay, everyone good? You have yours? Okay, perfect. So, something that we all have to realize is that every one of us has two people living inside of us. For some of you, it might be 10, but we're only going to stick to 2, okay? And the 2 people are the mediocre version of us and the greatest version of us, okay? So the mediocre you, this is the you that just kind of goes with the flow in life. You're kind of like the sheep, right? You just follow along, you do what you're told, and you let life just kind of pass you by. You kind of just watch it happen. The thing is, and what sucks, is we live in a world where mediocrity is actually encouraged. You know, people want you to go to school so you could, like what you were saying at the talk is, you know, you're trained, go to school, get good grades so you can get a good job so you can make a lot of money so you can get the house and the car and, you know, have the kids and then get to retirement and then one day you'll be happy. And that is, for someone, that was an amazing life. That was a perfect life, but that's not everyone's life. And so if that's not your life, then you're living a mediocre life. And we all know the mediocre version of ourselves. It's the one that doesn't do what we would like to do. It does the easy thing. You know, my mediocre self, if I got to eat, I could either have the French fries or the salad. My mediocre self will pick the French fries. Or waking up early. My mediocre self would much rather hit the snooze button than wake up early and make a huge impact on my life. Okay, so we all have this person. It's usually the you inside that you're constantly fighting. It's the one that you argue with in your mind all the time. And it's the one that you're trying to run away from. It's the one that you're trying to not be most of the time in your life. Okay? Does everyone know who I'm talking about? Is anyone saying, what? No way. No?
Is that you spelled E-W-E?
Huh? What?
Someone will figure it out.
Oh, is that what you call a baby?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it you?
Damn. I wish you would have seen that. That would have been so clever if I put the U up there.
I'm just giving you a little food.
All right. We need to do this again next week. So the really, really good news is that is not you. It's really, really important that you understand in the session today that that person that is talking. That is not you. That is what you've been trained to believe. That you're not good enough, or you're not this enough, you're not that enough. It's just the society that we live in, and unfortunately, we're really trained to think a certain way. You're not the only person that thinks these kinds of thoughts. Everyone has these kinds of thoughts. Most of us just don't express them because we don't want to look bad. Okay? So, what I want you guys to do is, because that person is not you, is I want you to name that person, that mediocre self. So I named mine Jafar from Aladdin, and the reason why is because he has this little scepter that hypnotizes people into believing whatever he wants. And so that's how I look at my mediocre self, as Jafar, is because he knows exactly what to say. He knows how to push my buttons. He knows how to woo me. He knows how to, make me, get the French fries or sleep in, or, not start that business, or not do that, or not do that. And he's really good at it. He knows me mostly better than I know myself, okay? But I'm not him, okay? But when he starts talking, I go into, oh, yes, you're right. French fries. Okay, great. I love French fries. Okay? So, I want everyone to take 30 seconds and come up with a name. Any name you want.
Where do we put it?
Just know it. You can write it down anywhere. There's a lot of free space on the pages, so you can doodle, do whatever. We'll go to the next page soon. So this is your mediocre self. This is the one that stops you from taking the risks. It stops you from following your heart. It stops you from living the life that you dream of. Do we have more packets? Yeah? Now, the reason why we're naming this version of you, because it's really important that you start to train your mind that that isn't you. So if you give it another name and you refer to it by another name, then your mind automatically starts to program that it is something separate from you, that it isn't you. Because if you just say, that's me, that's me, that's me, and that's how you talk, then you're going to actually believe that you're those thoughts. You're going to believe that, you don't know how to start a business, so you can't do that, or you don't know how to do this, so you can't do that. So that's why we're naming it. Does anyone have a good name that they want to share?
I named one of my worst ex-girlfriends.
Oh, that's a great idea. Woo!
At least you're not vindictive. That's
Let it go.
Anyone else have a good name?
Butthead.
Ooh, Butthead, okay.
Right out there.
Jesus.
I just named my name backwards.
Oh,
Ewok.
Elok. That sounds evil. Sounds like something from like Lord of the Rings or something. Elok. Okay. Anyone else have a good one that they want to share? Or a bad one they want to share? No? Okay. All right. So we're going to start on this page. And what you're going to do is write the name up there. So at the top, write the name of your mediocre self. And then you're going to write below that the life change that you want to make. So now we're on the second page. So the name of your mediocre self and the life change you want to make. And in each one of these blank spaces, put the name of your mediocre self. So here I'd put Jafar and Jafar. Okay, so when you look at your life change, what I want you to fill out is, what does Jafar have to say about it? Okay? So for example, for me, my life change is I want to start waking up at 4 a.m. What does Jafar say about it? He says, are you effing kidding me? There's no chance in hell. If you want to wake up at 4 p.m., okay, that makes sense. But look at your whole life. You've always struggled with waking up early. You can't do that. There's no way, okay? And that's the censored version. But it's really like, when I say I'm going to wake up at 4 a.m., it's panic. My mind literally panics. Like, I can feel it in my whole body of, no, what are you thinking? Impossible, impossible. You can't do that, okay? So I want you guys to write down whatever that person says when you read your life change that you're going to make. You can draw it to, if you're more of a visual person, sometimes that helps.
Did you actually wake up at 4 a.m.?
Not yet.
Okay.
Starting today. And you want to write it word for word what they say. Don't do like bullet points, like write out the script of what this person is saying inside of your head. And it's important that you say it word for word, because then you start to actually see the thoughts. Because the thing is, we think our thoughts all the time, but we never see them, which is why writing is so effective, because when you start to write, you actually see your thoughts on paper. And some of you, it's going to be really harsh what you write, but it's good for you to see. You have to go through it. So what does your mediocre self have to say about your new life change, the new you that you're going to be? And some of you realize you could write a novel. You could just keep going and going and going. But that's good, because then you'll see how easily you talk yourself out of things. Okay, so the next part is, what would your mediocre self take or not take? What actions would your mediocre self take or not take? Okay?
Prevent that from happening.
Yeah. So for example, I want to wake up at 4 a.m. every day. The actions that Jafar would take is he would tell everyone that he's going to wake up at 4 a.m. tomorrow. He would go to sleep at 1 o'clock a.m. to make sure that he only gets 3 hours of sleep, so it's going to be impossible to wake up at 4. He's going to set one alarm, and he's going to put his phone next to his bed, so when the phone goes off, the alarm goes off, he doesn't actually have to get out of bed. He can just snooze it. And then he's going to set his alarm for 9. So he's going to set his backup alarm for 9, because he knows that he's not really going to wake up at 4, especially if he goes to bed at 1. Okay? He's very sneaky. So what actions would your mediocre self take or not take in regards to your life change? Now, if it's your mediocre self, they're probably not going to do anything to help you achieve this life change. They might make you think that they are, but it's really just sabotaging you. And what some of you will notice is that whenever you want to make some kind of change in your life, sometimes you do the same things, or you don't do the same things. You know, maybe you're the person who you tell everyone and then you don't do it and you make a million excuses of why you didn't do it. Or you're the kind of person where you never set yourself up to actually be able to accomplish it. But you'll start to see patterns the more that you do this. Because again, your brain is designed to create patterns and habits. Okay? So the last thing that you're going to fill out is, if you had that life goal and you took or didn't take any actions, how would that make you feel? So for example, if I went to bed at 1, I would feel really guilty. I would feel like, oh my gosh, when am I ever going to get my shit together? Like, what is wrong with me? I can't do this. And then my alarm's going to go off at 4, and then I'm going to feel frustrated because I didn't go to bed early last night, and then I'm going to wake up at 9, and then when I wake up, I'm going to feel like I'm a fraud, like I don't put my money where my mouth is, that I'm all talk, and that no one can trust me, and I can't trust myself when I say I'm going to do something. Okay, so it's like deep, heavy stuff. And we've all experienced this because we've all created something that we really wanted to do, and we were so sure we were going to do it, and we didn't do it, and we really let ourselves down. But it impacts people in different ways. Some people, they feel like they're a fraud. Some people, they feel it's not their fault, it's someone else's fault. And if that other person would have done that thing. So how would it make you feel? And whatever feelings that you're writing down are probably feelings that you feel pretty often. Because we sabotage ourselves a lot without realizing it. So I feel guilty all the time. I feel frustrated with myself all the time because I am in the same habit pattern. All right. Does anyone want to share their life goal, what their mediocre self says about it, or their ex-girlfriend says about it? And then what actions they would take or not take, and then how it would make them feel? Yeah? What's your name?
Rafa.
Rafa?
Yeah.
All right.
Well, the name of my mediocre self is Raf.
Okay.
And the life change that he wants to have is become resourcefulness.
Okay.
So no need resources.
Okay.
To do stuff. And so what he does, what does he? Blah, blah, blah. What does Rafa has to say about it is that it's impossible and that I won't be able to do it, and that this is something that only had adherers to, and I'm not one of them. Okay.
Okay.
And what actions will Raf take or not take? So he will go into a panic attack and look for help in a very needy way, and then he will start running in circles until he doesn't get tired about it anymore.
Wow. All right.
And how would that make you feel of less value in comparison to it?
Yeah. Can you guys see how it's just like this self-inflicting vicious cycle that we all get caught into? Can anyone relate to that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Anyone else want to share? Thank you for sharing that.
I don't mind sharing. So my life change is move away from Portugal, my home country, again. And how does that? What does Lamech have to say about it? I say, what about your family? How are they going to feel? You're just going through a stupid existential phase. You will regret it. And what actions will I take or not take? Not trying to earn money remotely, criticizing that this isn't my thing. You will feel lonely and you will not succeed. And how would that make you feel? Shit, regret, being weak, and influence negatively.
Got it. Wow. Can anyone relate to that?
Yeah.
All right. So you can see that we all go through these patterns, but we all experience a lot of the same things. It's just a different scenario. So it's really important. This is a really good exercise because you start to tap into the autopilot that you're on when it comes to your mediocrity. You can start to see when you write it down how easily you stop yourself and you talk yourself out of something or into not doing something. Okay? So that's really important for you guys to see. The good news is that this isn't you. This is just a thought pattern. It is not you, I promise. You don't have to worry, okay? This is you. This is the greatest version of yourself. You might think that you're a cat, but inside you are a damn lion, okay? So your greatest self, what this is this is the absolute best version of you that you can think of. Okay, this is the you that you know you could be. It's the you that you dream about being, but it's also the you that you were meant to be. It's the you that you were born to be. We all know that we have this greatest self inside of us somewhere. We can picture it. It's, you want to move here and you want to start a business and you want to be able to make money and, support yourself and live this amazing life in Bali and do whatever it is that you want. We all have, especially here, we have these businesses that we want to start where we know if we could just be responsible or if we could be resourceful, then we could actually do that, okay? And we can do all of these things. We know it. But the thing is, we're constantly chasing that greatest self, but we know that we have that person inside of us somewhere. but it's very hard to become that person because we get in our own way. Okay, but your greatest self, that is the best version of you that you can possibly imagine. Okay, so on the next page, we're going to do the same thing. So you want to give this person a name. What I name it is me, because this is my true self. You can name it your true self, I, me, whatever it is, but I wouldn't give it a name other than you, or your actual name, because this is you. This is the true you. And that might be hard for you to believe now, but this is starting to break up the autopilot that you're on with your thought patterns. Look at you. Such an enthusiastic lion. Okay, so the name and then the life change that you're going to make. And then what do I have to say about it? Okay, so what does your greatest version of yourself have to say about it? So for me, for waking up at 4 a.m., my greatest self is like, fuck yeah, let's do this. I'm so excited. Just imagine all the things that we can get done in the morning before the sun even comes up. We can meditate, we can read, we can write, we can watch inspiring YouTube videos, we can work on our business all before the sun comes up. This is amazing. I'm so excited. Let's go to bed early tonight. Let's go home now to make sure that I'm in bed at 9. Let's do this. Okay? So this is the you that believes that you can literally do anything. Nothing is impossible. And when you say that you want to be resourceful, then the greatest self says, of course you can. There are billions of people in the world that are resourceful. Of course you can. You just need to learn how. You got this. Or you want to stay in Bali? You're already in Bali. You got this. You could start a business. You're working in a co-working space where most people are, paying their own bills by running their own company. Now, for some of you, it might be hard for you to hear that person because you've shut that person up for so long. Some of you, it might be really easy. So then the next part, what actions would I take or not take to accomplish this goal? So for me, I would set an alarm on my phone for 9 o'clock to make sure that when my alarm went off, I stopped everything that I was doing and I would get in bed. I would set my alarm for 3:30 and I would put it across the room because I know it's going to take me a little time to wake up. So when my alarm goes off, I'm going to have to get out of bed, even though I'm going to hate it in the moment, and I'm going to have to walk over, and then I'll start to wake up. I'll make sure I don't get back in bed. Or, I'll call a friend who's in the US and have them call me at 3:45 a.m. because it's, 1:45 p.m. for them. Because for most of us, the thing that you want to do, someone has already done before. Millions of people have probably already done before. So it's absolutely possible. You just have to take the steps to make it happen. To Jafar, my mediocre self, he thinks that waking up at 4 a.m. is literally impossible. It would be easier for me to start a whole company tomorrow than it would be for me to wake up at 4 a.m. But millions of people wake up at 4 a.m. Probably billions of people wake up at 4 a.m. every day. So if they can do it, I can do it.
Out of curiosity, did you get influenced by an article of a guy that woke up at 4:20 a.m. every day for like 4 months?
No?
There's a really good article about it.
Really?
Yeah.
Why 4:20?
I don't know.
Not because he smokes weed?
I have no idea if it's because of that.
Sure, it's not really active.
Yeah. Wakes up before 20, gets high, then goes right back to sleep. There's something inside of me that just feels good about 4. Like, it's this feeling of 5 seems doable for me. It doesn't seem like it would be, like I could do it. 4 seems like, oh man, you got to be your most badass version of yourself if you're going to wake up at 4.
When are you going to sleep if it's at 4?
9. I'll go to bed at 9.
Sorry, 4:30 a.m.
But for me to go...
You really do that every day?
No, not at all. No.
Keeping him from doing
Yeah,
it.
Jafar screws me over every night. That doesn't sound right, but. No, I'm doing this along with you because I really want to start waking up early and have a really solid morning routine. Because my morning routine now is wake up whenever I want, do whatever I want because I'm in Bali and what the hell. And then my day doesn't really get started until I get here at like noon. And it's just like I just don't feel good. But something inside me, I feel 4 o'clock is like, there's something that I connect with 4 o'clock where if I do that, then it will be me experiencing the best version of myself.
What time would you have to go to bed?
I'd go to bed at 9, which Jafar says that's literally impossible. You go to bed at 1 or 2 every day. You have your whole life. You're a night person. You're not a morning person. Like going to bed at 9, what are you, like 80 years old? That's impossible. Impossible. No way. It's literally impossible. Even thinking right now, it's impossible. It is impossible.
Says Jafar.
Yeah. But it's impacted my life so negatively because getting up early has been something that's probably changed my professional life more than anything in a negative way because I've missed meetings, I haven't been on time to things, I haven't shown up for my own company, I had employees beat me there, like so many things. It's created so much stress and anxiety. So if I change that one little thing, it could massively change my life. Okay? So we did what actions would I take or not take, and then how would that make you feel? So if I wanted to wake up at 4 a.m., and I said I was going to do it, and I took the actions necessary to wake up at 4 a.m., and if I woke up at 4 a.m., I would be so excited. It would probably be one of the most exciting things in the world for me because it's been such a struggle and such a challenge. I would feel so confident. I would feel so proud of myself. I would feel alive, invigorated. I would just be ready to take on the world. So if you actually accomplished that goal, if you actually did that and made that life change, how would you feel? All right, does anyone want to share?
I'll go.
Okay.
This is exactly what I'm trying to do.
Okay.
Which is what I'm doing here right now, which is public speaking.
Ah.
So, what do I have to say about it? Well, I think I'm good at it. So if I've done it in my room or in the shower or wherever, in a good way, then why not in front of people? And then, what actions would I take? I would do the power pose. You guys know it?
Yeah.
And get inside my head, just meditate a little bit, speak to myself, and then throw myself under the bus. Just go for it.
Go for it.
How would that make me feel? Fantabulous.
Fantabulous. Ooh, all right. Great. Thank you for sharing that. Anyone else? Come on, don't be so shy. All right.
So the life change that I like to do is the one I was talking about before.
Be resourceful?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so the name of the person of the badass is Rafa, so my full name. Right?
Okay.
And he just says that that's the way he rolls.
That's the way he rolls.
Yeah.
I'm resourceful. That's how I roll.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's just so natural.
So-
I just envision stuff and find out what I need to do for it to happen and how I need to take action towards it. I embrace failures as a tool, actually, and not as a defeat. So failures are just a tool for me to get closer to where I want to get.
Yeah.
To get further away. What actions will I take? I'll start by proving it to myself with very small challenges, and I'll take care of my health, and I'll try my best to keep a complete spiritual alignment with what I'm doing. So I will try to be aligned to that material level and spiritual level. And how will it make me feel? I'll feel like a badass. words.
You see how you smile, you light up when you say that? That's who you guys really are inside, is that feeling that you have when you think about accomplishing it. That is your greatest self. And we all can tap into that. If you look at all of the actions you have to take, they're really simple. Like, they really are that simple. All I have to do is go to bed at 9. I have to get in bed at 9 and put my phone across the room and then stand up in the morning. I just have to stand up. That's it. It's really that simple. But our mind just makes it this massive thing where it's impossible. When you actually write it out and see the simple steps that it takes, it's actually really, really easy. Okay? So the good news is that this is you. This is your true self. This is your true nature. You were born this way. When you were a little kid, you could do anything. You could literally do anything. You didn't have any barriers. You didn't have anything stopping you. And then you were trained how to think. Then you were trained how to doubt yourself and how to not believe in yourself. Okay? So that's not you. This version is you. So what I want you guys to do is put these two side by side. So this is a quote by Socrates. He said, "The secret of change is to focus all your energy not on fighting the old, but on building the new." So we live in a society where people try to convince us that we need to focus on our weaknesses. We need to improve our weaknesses. What we're not good at, we have to get better at, and not worry about what we are good at. Okay? So we're taught to focus on our mediocre self. We're taught to chase something, that you're not good enough. You're not pretty enough, you're not smart enough, you're not fast enough, you're not enough. So your mediocre self lives in the world that I'm not enough. Your greatest self lives in the world of I'm the shit, I can do anything, I'm everything, okay? But this is the world that we're trained in, and this is where we focus most of our energy on. And what you focus on expands. So the more you focus on your mediocrity, the more you become it. And the more that you act in a mediocre way, the more you just are mediocre. And then in your mind, you just are that way, okay? So your entire life comes down to a single choice, mediocrity or greatness. Because if you look at those two sheets, you always have a choice. You have the steps laid out. You literally have a blueprint for your mediocrity and you have a blueprint for your greatness. It all comes down to choosing. That's it. It is making one single choice. Some of you, you're going to choose mediocrity still because it's really easy. It's comfortable. It's what you've done for a long time. It's what we've all been trained to do. It's the safe thing to do. Some of you are going to choose the greatness and it's going to change your life forever. So it really comes down to choosing. That's all it is. It doesn't have to be this insane, crazy thing that we do. It's just a choice. Okay? Does anyone want to choose mediocrity?
No.
Are you sure? Okay. So everyone take your mediocrity sheet and hold it up. And I want you to rip it in half, crumble it up, and throw it in this box. Oh! And if you want, you could pass the box around. Yeah. Now, some of you might be trying to dig through that later. Not going to happen. Now, for some of you, that was really hard to do because you're really attached to that, or, you know, the way you wrote on it was so pretty, or whatever it was. Sometimes it's hard to let go of that mediocre version of ourselves because it's comfortable. Now all you're looking at is the greatest version of yourself. So the reason why we're doing that is because we don't want to give you a chance to even entertain that version of yourself. Because if it's an option, your mind is going to take it because it's on autopilot. And it's natural ways to take the easiest route. Okay? So now we can start the actual session. Okay? You're all in your greatness. Okay. So the next obstacle that we overcome is choosing is not enough. We all know that. You know, if I choose to start a business, but I don't start a business, it doesn't do anything. And for most of us, choosing something just isn't enough. Some of us are really, you know, we're really mentally and emotionally strong, and when we choose something, it's done, and it's like that, and that's great. Most of us aren't that way. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to explain to you guys the 3 forms of creation. So the first form of creation is thinking. Okay, so this is a really powerful form of creation, and this is where you say, I really want to do something. Man, I really want to wake up at 4 a.m. I I really want to, and you say it to yourself in your head. It's a thought, okay? The next form of creation is speaking. So that's when I say out loud to myself or to someone else, I'm going to wake up at 4 a.m. I'm gonna do it, okay? Now speaking can be more powerful than thinking, because when you speak it into existence, you actually create something, and if you speak it into existence with other people, you create accountability as well. But the most powerful form of creation is action. I did it. I woke up at 4 a.m. Waking up, actually taking action and waking up at 4 a.m. is way more powerful than telling everyone that I'm going to do it and sitting there and convincing myself I'm going to do it and telling myself how much I want to do it. Scheduling somewhere where you can speak in front of a small group of people is 10 times more powerful than ever thinking about doing it or telling everyone you're going to do it. Okay? So it's really, really important that we understand that action is the most powerful form of creation, because when you act, your life changes instantly. You all decided to come to this meeting, and it's going to change your life instantly. It could change your life in a massive way or a really small way. It could be one thing that one person says. It could be something that you remember. It could be anything, but you took action. You're here, so your life is going to change. Taking action, not being here, your life also changes in a different way. Okay? The hard part for us is going from this to this. Most of us are really good at this. We all have these dreams and, of the things that we want to do, of the person that we want to be. Some of us are really good at this. I'm a master at, trust me, I'm going to wake up at 4 a.m. Easy, no problem. I got this. And I'll convince everyone, and then I'll let them all down. Okay? Which kills me inside. But this is the hard one. Because it's going from thinking, which is intention, to doing, which is action. And a millimeter of action is more powerful than a mile of intention, because you're actually doing something. There's some book out there that talks about this, but going from 0 to 1, so from nothing to something, is actually a lot harder than going from 1 to 5, because it's actually just starting, just doing something. There are some of you in this room right now where you really want to start that business. You're gonna start the business. You've been talking to everyone about it. You're gonna do it, but you haven't launched the website. You haven't filed for the paperwork. You haven't done it. So therefore, it doesn't exist. It exists in the world of speaking and thinking, but it doesn't exist in physical reality. Okay? Does anyone have questions on this? So what we're going to focus on today is going from intention to action. And it's going to be uncomfortable for a lot of people, but it's good, I promise. This is one of my favorite quotes from Wolf of Wall Street. The only thing standing between you and your goal is the bullshit story you keep telling yourself as to why you can't achieve it. And that is absolutely the truth. We all have our mediocre selves telling us a story about why we can't accomplish that goal. My mediocre self tells me this amazing, beautiful story about why I can't wake up at 4 a.m. tomorrow. And it's a really good story. And I'll watch it over and over and over again because it's so good. Okay? But we all tell ourselves that story. And we all have excuses. So, if everyone turns to the next page, we're going to do the bullshit breakdown. So what you're going to do is you're going to write out all of the bullshit excuses that you use to not take action in life. Okay?
General or just for our...
In general.
In general.
Yep. So we all have these kind of excuses that we always fall back on when we don't do what we want to do. So for me is I don't have the time to do it, which makes literally no sense. I have my own schedule. Or I don't know how to do it. Or the big one for me is I don't care. If I don't wake up at 4 a.m., whatever, I don't care anyway. Okay? And that bullshit lets me off the hook every single time. That bullshit excuse that I have. Okay? Now some of you, you've never written these out before, and when you write them out, you'll start to get some clarity on why you don't actually do the things that you want to do.
Do we write inside the shit?
Inside, yeah, you write inside the shit. But for some of you, that might not be enough room, so you can write outside of it. For me, it would take the front and back of this page. And be really real with yourself. No one's going to read this. You don't have to share it with anyone else. You don't ever have to show it to someone. Be real with yourself. Because what we're doing is we're exposing the robot that is inside you that stops you. We're exposing the autopilot. We're exposing the mediocre self so we can get rid of it. And a really easy way, if you're stuck, is to think about something that you really wanted to do that you didn't do, and just listen to your mind tell you all the reasons it didn't happen. Some of your biggest bullshit excuses are, it's someone else's fault. So my fault is their fault. If they wouldn't have done this, then I would have been able to do what I wanted to do. Notice that none of these actually empower you. But you say them to yourself all the time. Alright, now what I want you to do is circle the one that you use more than anything. Your get out of jail free card. The one that trumps all of them. Your go-to backup that works no matter what in every situation. So mine is, I don't care. I don't care. I didn't wake up early? Whatever, I don't really care.
So that's part of the bullshit.
Yeah, circle the one bullshit excuse that you use more than any. The master of the bullshit. Yes, the stinkiest. Now, this is important to have because when you start creating goals or whatever it is, you want to pull this out or take a picture of it and look at it, because your mind is going to go through all the thoughts and that's going to discourage you or make you feel like you can't do it. But if you look at this, then you'll realize, oh, it's not real, it's just bullshit, it's bullshit. Because most of these are just thoughts about something. And most of those thoughts are fear-based. And fear can stand for false evidence appearing real. Okay? So for me, if I want to wake up early, my mind says, oh, you can't do that. You don't care anyway. You don't have anything to do. You don't have to be anywhere. And so that's one way that my mind creates that excuse so I don't actually have to do it. But some of you, it's, I want to start a business. And your bullshit excuse is, oh, I don't know how to start a business. So what that is, if you actually look deep down underneath that excuse, is it's the fear of failure or the fear of looking bad. It's not that I don't really know, because I can learn how to start a business. There's millions of businesses. It's really easy. Just read how to do it and you do it. But it's the fear of failing. So most of our excuses, the underlying foundation is fear-based. Because we live in a fear-based society. I mean, you turn on the news and you see everything in life is fear. Fear this, fear the person next to you, fear your neighbor, fear walking down the street at night, fear losing your money, fear losing your house, fear losing your job, fear not being enough, fear not being successful. It's all fear-based. And so our minds have been trained to operate from fear rather than abundance. Which is why it usually looks scarier on the surface, but when you dig down deep, it's not actually threatening at all. It's a goldfish, not a shark. And this is something that I go back to a lot. False evidence appearing real. Like if you actually think that you can't start a business or you don't know how, that's not actually true. All you have to do is read something and learn how and you did it. But we let that fear stop us from doing those things in life. You don't go talk to the girl that you want to talk to or the guy that you want to talk to. One thing I think about is, have any of you ever had the dream where you're like hanging out with someone you like and you think about you're going to go to kiss them and then you don't, and then you wake up and you're like, oh shit, it was a dream, why didn't I kiss her? Anyone? Yeah. Or did I just completely expose myself? Great. Perfect. But we have this regret where if we actually look back in life, and most people die with regret, if they look back on their lives, they regret the things that they didn't do, not the things that they did do. And they usually didn't take action because of fear. And we're all going to get to that point because we all, when we were kids, we said, someday I'm going to be, today is someday. Today's not 10 years from now or 20 years from now. Today is that day. Today is someday. When we were kids, we used to say, someday I'm going to do this, someday I'm going to do that, someday I'm going to be this. Today is someday. So if we keep letting fear run us, then we're going to constantly live in someday, and someday doesn't exist. And then people die with that someday intact. But one day, same day, way too much, but one day it is going to be your last day on this planet, which is why it's so important to live today and take action today and change your life today. Okay? Now the good news is that you actually trained your mind to think this way. We have trained our minds to think ourselves out of taking action. So this is the paralysis by analysis. You know, if you think you want to start a business, well, I don't know if I can really start a business. I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to file the right paperwork. What am I actually going to sell? I've never sold before. I don't know how to sell. How am I going to do marketing? I've never marketed before. And it's like you just start to think, and the more you think, the less you act. But you've trained yourself to be that way. When you were a kid, you were spontaneous. You just did. You acted first and you thought later. So the good news is that you can retrain yourself with action. You don't have to retrain yourself with thought. So we're going to just take the shortcut to changing your life. We can take the long route, which could take some people years, which is why therapy exists, is we can sit here and we can think about our lives forever. We can think about why we don't do things. We can think about what we want. Thinking isn't going to do it for you. It's going to be action, okay? You can think all day long how you want to be a speaker, but until you stand up in front of a group of people, you're not a speaker, right?
I don't know what to say.
So we're going to retrain ourselves with action. It's really simple. Changing your life is insanely simple. It's just taking action, okay? Now, the problem is that your mind is so sneaky. It's so smart. It knows you inside and out. It knows you better than anyone. It knows what to say to make you do something or to not do something. So when you say, I want to start a business, it's, okay, I want to start a business. All you have to do is file the paperwork, and then you've incorporated a business, you started a business. But what your mind starts to do is it goes from the first step to the 30th step, to where you can't even see, well, when you're running a business, how are you going to be in charge of all those people? You've never been a leader before. How are you going to lead a company? What if you have to raise money? You've never raised money from investors, blah, 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 blah. And it goes and goes and goes, and you get stuck up here. Whereas the first thing is, you go online and you click a few buttons, and you just started a company. It's really that simple. But our mind is just so good at focusing up here and never right here, okay? So what we're going to focus on is the first possible action. It's not any action that you're going to take, because you can say, I'm going to start a business. You say, okay, I'm going to start a business. And some of you might have to change your life changes after this. But you say, okay, I'm going to start this business. And then your mind says, okay, yeah, you're going to start a business, but you don't know how to actually file the paperwork to start a business. You don't know how to file the LLC, so you can't start a business. There's no way. Impossible. And then you let it go. Okay, well, one day I'll start a business. Where in reality, the first possible step is not just starting a business, it's learning what paperwork you have to file online. That's it. You Google, what paperwork do I have to file in order to start a company? So that is your first possible action to starting a business. Okay, so we all have first possible action. So for me, my first possible action for waking up at 4 a.m. is going to bed at 9 p.m. It's not waking up at 4, it's going to bed at 9. And so what this does is when you create your first possible action, you start to eliminate all the bullshit excuses. Because if you say you want to start a company and your first possible action is to learn what it takes to file the paperwork, your mind doesn't have anything to say. Unless it says, you can't read. How are you going to learn how to do it? You don't know how to read. It has nothing to say. So first possible actions actually shut up the bullshit excuses that your mind comes up with. So this is a really, really good way to be sneaky back and make sure that you actually take the action that you need. So for me, when I started my first company when I was 23-ish, and I was terrified. I thought there's no possible way that I can start a business. It's not going to happen. I don't know what I'm doing. And my business partner and I, we started the very first social media marketing agency where I'm from. And we started that business and we didn't know what we were doing. The first Facebook post that I did for one of our clients, I posted it sideways because I didn't know how to adjust it, because I didn't know how to use Photoshop. And I was so bad at Facebook that I didn't even know how to delete the post so we could repost it. That's how bad I was. But the thing is, we took action and we got better and better and better. And a year and a half later, we sold that business and started another social media marketing business. And so the thing is, when you take action, you start to know yourself as that. And so it's really important that you figure out these actions and you start to take them. So it's the first possible action, and then it's the next possible action. So first possible action, and then the next possible action. It's really easy to get stuck up here, but this is where you're going to be paralyzed. You don't have to see the top of the staircase to take the first step. You only have to see the first step to take the first step. Yes?
So when you did that first step and you
So I did that, I messed up, someone within 5 minutes, one of their customers commented, it was like a happy hour thing. We did it for a restaurant, and I posted the happy hour sign, but it was sideways. And someone said, oh, it looks like whoever posted must have had too many of those happy hour beers. Ha ha ha, so clever. And I was immediately like, oh my gosh, what did I do? I don't even know how to delete this thing. This was back in 2000, whatever, where businesses doing Facebook marketing, it just wasn't that popular. And so I didn't even know how to use it. And so it was, my mind started going, but then we were taking so much action that I didn't have time to think about it. Because it's like, there's that, but then I have these other clients that I have to post for, and it's like, if you keep taking action, you don't have time to think. The problem is that we think more than we act, and that's what actually stops us. So if you do something and you screw up, great, what's your next possible action? And go do it. That's it, because when you're acting, you don't have time to think. But we sit around and we don't take action. We sit around and we think about things forever. We are masters of thinking. We're addicted to our thoughts. 50,000 thoughts per day. 50,000 thoughts, and 80% of them are the same thoughts we had yesterday, and 70% are negative. So the only way to combat the thought is to act. You have to take action. Because you might have screwed something up, you might have lost a client, whatever it is. Great, take an action, pick up the phone, call more people, get another client instead. Just keep taking action. If you keep taking action, you can never go backwards. Does that answer your question? So it's the first possible action, and then the next possible action, and the next, and eventually, before you know it, you're up here. I started my first company. I had no idea what I was doing with social media marketing. A year and a half later, I sold a business, started another one. And it was because I just took step by step by step by step by step. I didn't know where we were going or how we were going to get there, but I knew the next action that we could take because I'd never started a company before, and I failed a lot along the way, but I just kept acting. It's when your thoughts paralyze you that stops you from acting, and then that's when the transformation of life stops. Okay? The good news is I have a cheat sheet for you guys. So the next page. So what you're going to do is, I want to wake up at 4 a.m. So whatever the life changes that you want to make. So I want to be resourceful. I want to start a business. I want to have a better relationship with my mom. I want to make more money. So whatever your want is. And then what is the first possible action I will take? So the first possible action I will take is, and then write it down. And really think about the first possible action. If you think about it and something comes up in your mind immediately, the mediocrity comes in and says, yeah, but you don't know how to do that, or you don't have this, you don't have that, then that's not the first possible step. Think one step down. So if I want to start a business, and I put on there, I want to start a business, but then my mind says, but you don't even know how to start a business. Then my first possible action is learn how to start a business. So first possible action. And now you have this big space for all the bullshit excuses, so just let them out. Let them flow, write them out. Because this is new for most of us, doing something like this. So I want to wake up at 4 a.m. The first possible action I will take is going to bed at 9. The bullshit excuse that I have is, how am I going to go to bed at 9? That's not possible. I have work that I have to do tonight. When am I going to go to dinner? Blah, 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 blah. Whatever comes up. So get it all out. Everything that you can think of that comes up. If nothing comes up, great. But if something comes up, write it down. Now, if everyone can see, in the bullshit section, there's a little dotted line, so you're going to fold on the dotted line. Some of you, if they made copies, they didn't get both sides, so you're going to write. You can write anything. So what it says for everyone, it says, good, now go do it. So, the way this works, can I use yours? Yeah. Actually, you're pretty full. Is you have all of your excuses here. Now, the way this is designed is that you actually read it to yourself. So, I want to wake up at 4 a.m. The first possible action I'm going to take is I'm going to go to bed at 9 o'clock tonight. I see my bullshit excuses, I fold it over, good, now go do it. So I want you guys all to read that. I want to do this, so here's the first action I'm going to take, and then just read, good, now go do it. Cover up the bullshit. And read it a couple times if you have to, but what you'll feel is something, and at some point it's going to shift, and it's just going to stop. Because if you say, I want to wake up at 4 a.m., the first possible action I'm going to take is I'm going to go to bed tonight at 9, good, now go do it. That actually stops you from going into the reel of all the bullshit excuses. So everyone look at yours and read it with the good, now go do it. And you might have to read it a couple times for it to hit you, but at some point the thought, the reel that comes on is just going to stop, and you're going to feel this space open up. And you can write anything. There's space below for you to write something else. Like anything that inspires you to just go do it. But it's really that simple. It's, I want to do something. Here's the first thing I need to do. All I need to do is act. That's it. Good, now go do it. You want to start a business? Okay, the first possible action that I need to take is learn how to file for an LLC. Good, now go do it. That's it. As soon as you do that, it's the next possible step. Good, now go do it. Don't give yourself time to listen to the bullshit chatter that's going on in the background, because if you listen to it, it's going to paralyze you. And that's why most of us have these life changes that we want to make on paper. We haven't made that change yet because we've gotten in our own way. So this is a little way to just stop it in its tracks. So you can make copies of this or do whatever, but if you want to accomplish something, you put that on, you read it, and then good, now go do it. Write out all your bullshit excuses, and you can see what it feels like if you read the bullshit excuses. It's this heavy, depressing, like, oh yeah, you're right, I can't do it. You fold that over, and you read it a couple times, good, now go do it. You actually stop your mind. You stop it from going, and then you start acting, okay? So you can do this with anything, but the point is, good, now go do it. Good, now go do it. I want this, the first possible action I need to take is blank, good, now go do it. That's it. It really is that simple. Life, changing your entire life is so simple. We just don't think it is. We have this idea that changing your life is this crazy thing and it takes years and you have to do this and you have to know how to do that and whatever. It's just change your life. It's that simple. So the moment that you take your first possible action, your life changes forever. The moment that I filed for our first LLC, I was an entrepreneur and my life changed forever. And this is a quote by someone, but I like it. It says, if you keep taking action in a certain direction, in a moment it becomes your identity. So when I started my first company, I didn't believe I was a business owner. I was taking the actions. It was uncomfortable for me to say that I had clients. I couldn't say that I had clients because I didn't think, like, you can't say you have clients. Clients is for like super professional people who really know what they're doing. You're just a stupid kid. You don't know what the hell you're doing. You can't say clients. But I kept taking action and getting more clients. And then at some point it shifted where it's like, okay, I have clients. At some point it shifted, I'm a business owner. And now I started that company and sold it, and I started another company, raised money from investors. And it's like, for me, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a business owner. I will literally never in my life ever work for someone else again. It's impossible for me to even think it because my action became my identity. Whereas before, my thoughts of I can't start a business, that was my identity. I can't do this. I don't know what I'm doing. And so if you keep taking action in a certain direction, it eventually becomes your identity. So some of you, if you want to be a business owner, if you keep taking actions in the direction of being a business owner, even if your mind says you're not one, eventually one action you take, something will click, and then the autopilot shifts to you're a business owner. Your subconscious mind is you're a business owner. You've actually reprogrammed your subconscious mind to believe that you are something, right? Some of you, most of you are something that you weren't before. You're a business owner, you're a teacher, you're a yoga instructor, whatever it is. And at some point you were not that. You didn't see yourself as that. You wanted to be it, but you weren't it. Something happened along your journey where one thing happened and you thought, I'm a yoga teacher, or I'm a business owner, or I'm a consultant. And it's just one action. So it doesn't matter when it happens. You don't have to see the top of the staircase. Just keep taking action. The next step, the next step, the next step. And it eventually becomes your identity. So for me, one of the things that was the hardest thing for me, I'm vegan, which might be hard to believe, but Oreos and French fries are vegan. But to me, being vegan was the hardest thing in the world besides waking up at 4 a.m. Impossible. I used to hate vegans because I was so jealous that they could have that much freaking willpower. And then one day, I watched some documentary about being healthy, and I thought, okay, I need to lose some weight. I need to be vegan. And I thought, for sure, it'll last 3 days. I didn't eat my last steak or my last piece of cheese. I didn't care because it was like, this is going to last 2 or 3 days at the most. It's impossible. And so I thought it. So that's the first form of creation. And then I spoke it. I went into my company the next day. They ordered pizza, and I said, oh, no, not for me. I'm vegan. I don't eat cheese. It was a joke. It was a joke to me, too. They're laughing. Oh, yeah, whatever. Just another thing you're going to do that you're going to sell us all on and not do. And it was like I spoke it into existence, but then I took action. The pizza came. I really wanted it, but I didn't eat it. And so I kept taking action to be vegan. My mind still said, you're not vegan? Okay, you've lasted 2 days. You're good. Tomorrow's the day. And I kept taking action, kept taking action. And what started to happen is I started to convince myself I was vegan, but I also started to convince other people I was vegan. 2 weeks later, they ordered pizza, and, oh, can you do one without cheese for Chris? He's vegan. And then, I keep taking action, and then I start to believe, holy shit, am I vegan? Wait, no, this is impossible. Me vegan? No chance in hell that I would ever be vegan. And I kept taking action, and something shifted. I don't know when it was, maybe a month and a half or 2 months into it. And we went out to eat, and someone asked, because I said no cheese or whatever, and they said, oh, are you vegan? And it hit me. I was like, yeah, I'm vegan. And in that moment, my identity of who I am to myself altered forever. So who I know myself to be is vegan, not because I thought it, but because I took action on it. I could think I'm vegan all day long and eat cheese and meat and whatever, and I'm not vegan. I could tell everyone I'm vegan and then go eat Cheetos, and I'm not vegan. But if I take action, then I convince myself that autopilot, that subconscious mind, I convince myself that I am that. And then it becomes your identity. Then what you want to be actually becomes your autopilot. And all the habits that you do on autopilot give to what you are. So I'm a business owner now. I'll never work for anyone else again. It's impossible to believe it. I'm vegan. I'll never eat meat again. It's impossible for me to even think that I would eat meat again. I love meat, but there's no chance in hell because I'm vegan. Vegans don't eat meat, So it just becomes that, and we all have our own version of that. But if you want to be a speaker, take action to be a speaker. Speak in front of a dog out there. There's 20 dogs. Go speak in front of the monkey. Speak in front of anyone that will listen. If you keep taking action, how you will know yourself is as a public speaker. Because everyone that is where you want to be in life had to start somewhere. And they started with that first possible step. And then they know themselves as that. Okay? So, why do any of this? Why change your lives? Why, have these goals? Why do any of that? The real question is why not? Because in reality, we are little specks of dust on this tiny blue dirt ball floating around a giant ball of fire in the middle of nowhere. We're tiny specks of dust running around a giant dirt ball floating around a ball of fire in the middle of nowhere. And somehow we're aware that we exist. Like, what have you got to lose? You're put on this planet, you have 80 or 90 years if you're lucky to experience something absolutely incredible. You didn't go through 13 billion years of evolution to get to this point to play it safe or to not express your greatness to the world. And so it's really important that you start to see that you don't have anything to lose. The only thing you really have to lose is your life, which you're going to lose anyway because no one gets out alive. So what have you got to lose? Okay? One of the worst forms of suffering is knowing you are full of potential but never expressing it. One of the worst forms of suffering is knowing that you're full of potential but never expressing it. Knowing how great you can be inside. Knowing what you're capable of. Knowing how much of a difference you can make in the world. And never doing it. This is when people die with regret. Think how many books have never been written. How many speeches have never been given. How many businesses haven't been started that could have changed the world. How many people haven't been taught a certain lesson. There's countless things. And you have that potential inside of you. If you want to be a public speaker, think on your deathbed how many speeches you could have given between now and then, or how many you could have not given. And we all have that. The business that you could start, the difference that you can make in the world. The reason why this is such an aggressive form of suffering is because we're constantly chasing the carrot, which is us. we're constantly chasing the best version of ourselves, saying, I want to be that, I want to be that, I want to be that, but we don't take actions in line with it. When you take actions, you realize that there's no carrot to chase. You are the carrot, and you don't have to keep chasing anymore. So you set yourself free from one of the greatest forms of suffering that exists. You no longer have to compare yourself to anyone else. You don't have to chase anything because you are. You can say, I want to start a business. Great, you know the actions to take, you act. You're now a business owner. You want to do yoga. Great, you take actions, you go do yoga. You want to change the world. Great, you want to take actions, you go change the world. Because for me, I do not want this on my tombstone. Because at the end of the day, we don't know when we're going to die, but it's going to happen. I promise. It's guaranteed. You're going to look back on your life, and you're either going to be filled with pride or regret. And it's going to be proud of the things that you did do or regretting the things that you didn't do. But we all live like we're never going to die. Like that day's never going to come, but it's going to come. It is going to come, but we keep convincing ourselves, oh, I got all the time in the world to be a public speaker. I got all the time in the world to be resourceful. I got all the time in the world to wake up at 4 a.m. And so the average lifespan of someone in the U.S. is 79 years old, 948 months in a lifetime, which kind of sounds like a lot, but if you look at it, it's not a lot. For me, I'm 30, so this is how many more months I have left to live if everything goes right. And the reason why I show this to you guys is because this for me is a reality check that this life doesn't go on forever. Someday it's going to end. It could end here or here or here or here. I have no idea. But today I have a choice. Today I can change my life and I can take action. So it really just depends on you and how you look at this and how you look at life. Because you get one shot at this thing. You've got nothing to lose. You can literally change the world. And the world needs people to step into their greatness. The world needs people to start being the best version of themselves, or we're going to all kill ourselves. And I think we all know that. No one is really happy with the state of humanity or the state of the planet, but most of us are too scared to do anything or too scared to say anything. But if you focus on you and making a difference with you, you automatically change the world. Be the change you wish to be, or be the change you wish to see in the world. And so this is a quote from Gandhi: the future depends on what you do today. And because of that, the last thing that we have is a contract. Dang, you already wrote all over your contract. Sorry. We're going to rip it up, don't worry. I'm just kidding. Okay, so this says, today, my life will change. The first possible action I will take today is, and I want you guys to write your first possible action that you're going to take today. Tonight, I'm going to bed at 9. I'm going to set an alarm on my phone. I'm going to bed at 9. So the first possible action that you will take today to make the life change that you want. No bullshit excuses, no reasons of why you can't do it. The first action you're going to take. If you're serious about this, because every choice that you make changes your life, every action you take drastically changes your life. If you're serious about it, then sign it. And don't go to bed until you do it. And when you do it, you can throw it away or you can frame it, because it might be the turning point in your life that changed your life for the rest of your life. When I started my first business, it changed my life forever. When I decided to move to Bali, it changed my life forever. And it's just making a choice. Now, is anyone scared?
After seeing that, all the little circles.
No?
A little bit, yeah.
A little bit? Good. So for anyone that's scared, this is the last thing. Just remember, this was you. I'm serious, this is science. It's real. For you to even exist, for you to be born, there were 300 million potential people that you had to be in every single lifetime to even exist, to be sitting here right now. You had a 1 in 300 million chance of existing, of becoming you, the only version of you that exists. The equivalent of this, to put it into perspective, is it would be like if you took the entire population of the United States, you had everyone in LA, and you had to sprint from LA to New York City. You had to do it barefoot and blindfolded. No Uber, no Google Maps, nothing. You just had to run. And it was you versus everyone else in the country. The person that made it there first gets to live, everyone else dead, dies. You won that race.
Like, you were born with greatness inside you. I know this is silly and funny, but if you really sit there and think about it, holy shit. You are 1 in 300 million. You were born great. That's why kids they're unstoppable. They're going to change the world. They're going to fly to the moon. They're going to, go to Mars. They're going to do anything because we're born with that greatness inside of us. And if we can tap into it, then we can change our lives and change everyone else's lives. And this was you. That little guy was you. It's crazy. 300 million other potential people. And you were the one that made it. That takes greatness. If you won that race from LA to New York City, you would never doubt yourself again. You would feel like you're the biggest badass in the world and you could literally accomplish anything. You did win the race, we just don't remember it. So, if you're scared, don't be scared. And the last thing, you're born an original, don't die a copy. This is one of my favorite quotes of all time because every one of us, we have greatness inside of us and it's all expressed in very different ways. But if you can tap into that, then you contribute to yourself and the world. You make a difference. That's it.